Hello and welcome. Welcome to the information I want to share with you on how to have more skills for conflict resolution for your practice, for your life, how to get mentorship, community, and most of all, how to have fun. Let's take a breath and just bring ourselves present because I'll give you about 15 minutes of information. And then I would like to share that my compassionate mediation coaching certification is starting on Tuesday. And it's almost full, but there's one spot left, which I hope one of you would be willing and interested in learning about. If you need to leave early, go to lindacroll.com/certify and find time for a 15-minute chat. It's a transformational experience. This is the 6th cohort. I'll tell you more about it at the end, but I just wanted to make sure you knew about it now. What I want to offer you today is good for anyone who works with individuals or couples in conflict. And it's good for you in your personal life too, because the people in my compassionate mediation coaching certification learn the skills that they can use with individuals and couples or groups or workshops or however they want to use it. But they also learn how to make their own relationships better. I want to give you a few tips on the expertise that I have. I'm Linda Kroll. For 35 years, I've been an internal family systems therapist, and I have taught at all the different cities when they've had conferences. I wrote the book that's in the IFS bookstore, Compassionate Mediation, How to Add Passion to Your Marriage or Compassion to Your Divorce. And Dick Schwartz says it's relationship healing at its best. And for over 35 years, I've individual counseling, couples counseling, divorce mediation. I'm an IFS therapist. I'm also a mediator. I'm an attorney. I put together my compassionate mediation program for individuals and couples and my compassionate mediation trainings and certifications for professionals. It offers is emotional and spiritual healing, along with legal and financial information and support. When we're trained as therapists or coaches, we're trained to help people resolve conflict. If we're doing marriage counseling, we're helping them heal their marriage. What usually happens, and I've done this for 35 years, is that when people come for marriage counseling, they don't talk about the part of them that is ambivalent about staying. They don't talk about the parts of them that would wonder, what would it be like to end the marriage or to separate? And when you know how to use compassionate mediation, you become an expert at creating a safe forum for individuals, because it works with individuals and couples, to talk about everything. You welcome the parts that are ambivalent or unsure. Eventually, you can welcome the parts that have had an affair so you can help them heal an affair. But what it does, it gives you a template. It gives you the tools, the templates, the outlines, the questions, the meditations, the scripts, the manuals on how to take your training as a therapist or coach and add this new dimension so that if an individual or couple is thinking about, should I stay or should I go? Or if they're separated or in the middle of a divorce or even past a divorce, you have a new skill set that truly makes you an expert in conflict resolution because you're working on a holistic approach. IFS brings higher self-awareness. The Chopra Center talks about higher consciousness. Compassionate mediation has some somatic qualities where we actually check in with our bodies and our clients' physical bodies to find out what's going on and how we can intervene and help them. There's so much I want to share, and let's start with how I do my first interview. And I'm going to give you a very brief overview because starting next Tuesday, I give those in the training everything. I give you all the questions, the templates, the handouts. I take you by the hand and say, now that you've gotten your education as a therapist or coach and you're out in the field, and you may be in the field for many years. I mean, you may have a practice that's full, but some of the skills that I've developed are different because they help you teach people how to compassionately communicate in the first session in 45 minutes. And then give them the hope that you can help them talk about everything because you can. And the way I teach the certification is I give you the information for you to stay one step ahead of your clients and offer a forum where they can talk about any content. They can talk about money or sex or parenting or roles and responsibilities. They can talk about the possibility of a separation or divorce. They can talk about dating. They can talk about everything, because you make it safe for them to do that. And you model self-energy. which is how I help you and the other people in the help you in the group. We work on our own parts that get triggered when we are in the middle of conflict, whether we're in the middle of conflict with someone in our lives, or certainly when we're in the middle of conflict with our clients. I've been doing this a very, very long time. And when I first started out, I didn't like dealing with conflict, which made it hard because I started as an attorney first. Then I became a mediator when I was looking at my own divorce. And until I met Dick Schwartz and took myself up the mountain and realized there is a different way to resolve conflict. When I created this process, it was with the idea that there had to be a better way to end a marriage when two people promise to love each other forever, that we need to change the face of divorce one heart at a time, that families can be restructured instead of broken, and that we can spare our children from the shrapnel of their parents' animosity. And you can become the expert to do that. And I'm sure if you have any IFS background, you've already learned a lot of what I'm sharing, but the way I've templated it, outlined it, and give it to you to stand on my shoulders, just like I've stood on Dick Schwartz's shoulders, or Deepak Chopra, or David G., or that many other mentors that I've studied with. In the mentorship, I'm by your side for 3 months, and you'll also be part of a community that is supportive and inspiring and motivational. So I'm going to take a breath because glad you're here. I have so much I want to share with you. I'll continue with that first interview. So in that first interview, I have a way of doing a brief introduction. I ask a quick series of questions. If I'm seeing a couple, I see them individually for a few minutes and ask them these questions. And then I put them back together and give them my IFS introduction. Then I give them a guided meditation, and in 45 minutes, they're out the door with more hope. Here are some of the questions. Let's say I'm working with Mary and John. Mary called me. So if Mary called me, I will talk to John first. All the time I'm on Zoom now. I used to have an office, but I'm on Zoom. So I'll put Mary in a private room. I'll talk to John. Hi, John. Nice to meet you. How do you feel about being here? And do you have any questions about me? I'd like to ask you a few questions just to get an overview. And then I'll share some perspective that might help you change the situation. And the questions that I ask, I've mentioned many times before, clients like to tell us their stories. They think you're a new therapist, a new counselor, and they want to make sure you have the details of the last 30 years or 10 years. And I tell them that I'd love to hear everything they want to tell me, but if I just listen to their story, they will leave in 45 minutes and they will be marginally by the fact that I witnessed, but they won't have a change of perspective. So if it's okay with them, I'm going to ask them some questions and we'll have time to talk more about everything else they want to talk about. So here are the questions. I ask, this works with individuals too. If an individual walks into my office, and many times an individual walks into my office and they don't even know they have a problem in their relationship. They're because they're depressed or they're anxious or they're eating too much or they can't get over their shopping addiction. And when I ask them if they're having conflict with anyone in their lives, they're usually, oh, yes, there is someone. So it works in every interview that I do for anybody that comes in my office, individual counseling, couples counseling, divorce mediation, they all get these questions. So I'll say, John, so tell me what Mary does that bothers you. And then he might tell me, oh, she's nagging at me all the time. And, then when she gets mad, she doesn't talk to me for days and I'm fed up and I don't know what I want to do. And then I'll say, so what do you do? And he'll say, well, I just ignore her and I go down to the basement and I watch TV. And when I get really mad, I yell. And then I'll say, and what does she do? If she were talking to me, what would she would say about your behavior? And he'd say, oh, she probably says I don't love her or I'm not warm enough. And I say, how does that make you feel? That makes me feel mad. I said, is there anything that might make you feel hurt? Yeah, but usually mad. So I'm listening and asking these questions. So I'm listening for what do they feel? What do they say? What do they do? What parts are they showing each other? And then I'll ask, if you had a magic wand, what would you like to see happen? So there's a series of questions, and then there's my magic wand question, because I want to know if John really wants to work it out with Mary or he's been done. And I just wish I could get out of here and we could figure this out and be done. And if that's the case, I kind of know where he's headed. or I have to listen because it might be a part of him that's headed that way because he's so upset with Mary. I'll ask him the question about family of origin. And this question, it seems benign. It seems like a throwaway, but it really sets the stage for me knowing who is in front of me. So on my notes, I make a little genogram, mom, dad, siblings. And all I ask is, tell me a little bit about your mom or your dad. How many siblings? Where were you in the sibling lineup? And I might ask, was there any drinking? Well, not really. My dad had a couple drinks every night, but no problem. And I'm hearing probably what sounds like denial or rationalization or minimization around alcoholism, but I take a note. And then I may ask, where were you in the family of origin? I was the oldest of 5, and that's telling me he's always been super responsible. Or if he's the youngest and was ignored, then that tells me something too. I'm listening for some facts about what he learned growing up. And then I will ask him to describe Mary's family of origin. And that's often a strange question because they haven't thought about their partner's family of origin. But when they do, they realize, well, Mary's dad was in the army and he was always gone. And her mom worked 2 jobs and she was always gone. And Mary was the head of the 5 kids in the family. And he's starting to see, gee, Mary had it tough. So if Mary's hurt now that she's not feeling supported, he gets a bird's eye view as to what was going on in her family that made her need his contribution, his attention so important. And even in those questions, it changes. Wayne Dyer says that when you change the way you look at something, what you look at changes. And when we look at something from our higher self, instead of our reactive parts, things change. And that's what I want to help your clients do. And then I will ask him, do you have a word for spiritual? And it's not about religion. I'm just looking, does he use universe, higher power? Has he used any of those words? If he uses the word God, I may say, where is God? Everywhere inside of you, yes. John, that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about self, but I'll tell you more about that when I get the 2 of you back together. So thank you, John, for what you shared. I'll go talk to Mary, and then I'll put you both back together. And then I put him in a waiting room. I go talk to Mary. I ask her the same set of questions. I'm listening for her parts. Ask her magic wand, what does she want? And she may want to work this out. She may want John to change and I want to work this out. Or she may say, I want John to stop drinking or something. But I get from each of them their GPS. What are they each looking for in the relationship and how can I best help them? And when you take the compassionate mediation coaching certification with me, you have the confidence that no matter who comes in your office, no matter what they want to talk about, you're going to have the skill set to deal with them because we talk first about how to help your clients get to self, how to create a compassionate relationship, which we do with the miracle of empathy, which I have a handout for, and I show you how to integrate that into your practice. Then we help our clients explore all their options. Now, they may not be looking at should I stay or should I go, but what are their options in terms of having a better relationship or resolving conflict? And that can be as much as individual counseling, go for a walk, go for date night, talk to somebody about a post-nup agreement so you don't have to fight about things, separate for a while. There's so many options, and I don't want to overwhelm you with them because in my certification, it's all outlined, templated, noted. So you feel like I know exactly what to do, and you have it on an easel and you're the expert by staying one step ahead with what I give you to share with your clients. So talk to Mary, talk to John, put them both together, and I thank them. And I let them know we'll be talking more. I thank them for their willingness to talk to me and be so open and vulnerable. And then I ask them if it's okay if I give them my 2-minute blurb. And here's my blurb. Okay, I call it a blurb. Basically, I say, I believe that we all have a healthy self, capital S self. And when we're in self, we're calm, clear, and compassionate. You know those moments? They're usually just moments because we're not always in self. We're in parts that we exile, parts that we manage with, and parts that we get extreme with. So the exiled parts are the parts we learned in childhood weren't going to get our needs met. If we felt hurt, sad, scared, and sometimes even angry, we pushed it aside because it wasn't safe. Nobody cared. But this is the inner child. What about me? Who's going to love and care for me the way I need? So we go out in the world and we manage, and some of us manage by being nice, pleasing, caretaking, hardworking, stoic. There's a lot of different ways to manage, but many of us put on what I call a pseudo self, where you look like you're in self, but you're really feeling a lot of those exiled feelings, hurt, sad, scared, and you're not talking about it. When your managers can't contain those feelings that are bubbling up, you do something to numb. You might eat too much, drink too much, get enraged, yell, get depressed, go shopping, exercise too much, sometimes go have an affair, call an attorney and say, get me out of here. These are extreme behaviors. It's not that divorce is never okay. It's just you don't want to do it when you're feeling that way. You want to understand that these parts of you are protecting you. And when you give your parts the attention they need, they can unburden the pain from the past and really help you be more in self for all the conversations you need to have. So that's my blurb. And then I'll bring their parts in. So Mary, you say that when John doesn't take out the trash and you have to nag him, you begin to feel angry, right? But underneath, Mary, are you hurt? Yes. And you try by being nice and pleasing and rational. And then when he doesn't do anything, you nag, you yell, you might withhold sex for a while. Whatever you're doing is your way of coping. Is that right? They're both nodding. And John, you came from a family where nobody was really there to meet your needs. So when Mary is asking you for something and you're already working and you're doing the best you can to be a husband and father, and she's adding one more thing on and she's complaining to you about it, you shut down, you go down the basement, or you yell, right? Right. Because I've taken all these notes, they know I've heard them, I've reflected it back. And then I ask them, so as I'm mentioning the withholding and the anger and the judgment and the yelling, what's happening to your bodies? Here's where the somatic piece comes in, and their bodies are usually clamping. And then I ask if it's okay if I do a brief meditation to get them to have a felt sense of what self is all about. And no matter who has come to my office, no matter how left-brained, how angry, how stoic, how non-woo-woo, they all get my meditation. And I'm going to tell you later how to get it. But an overview is I help them breathe, a couple belly breaths. In fact, take one now. And relax. I do that a couple times to bring them back into self. And I explain that when our parts are activated, we tighten. And when we breathe, we bring more of that self energy, that higher self energy, that God energy, if they've used that word, or universal energy or higher self energy. Then I lead them through a process. It takes about 5 minutes. I'm not going to do it right now, where they ground, they bring up from the earth some higher self energy. They bring it down from the sky, heavens, nature, universe, God. They breathe even bigger than themselves. They focus the compassion inward and notice their own parts where there's tightness, tension, thoughts, and feelings. Then I lead them out of the room that they're in to a mountain, and they go up the mountain in self and leave all their parts at the base of a mountain, all their judgment, anger, confusion, hurt, sadness, fear. And I name the parts that they've named so we know to kind of separate from them. And then I invite them to go up in self as high up the mountain as they want, along the way or at the top. And wherever they stop, just rest and look at the view from up here. They may be aware of another presence. They may not. Either way is fine. And if they want, they can put their thumb and forefinger together to anchor this place as a place to come back to, because in a few moments, they're going to go back down their mountain. But before you do, I ask them, picture your partner at the top of his or her mountain without their parts attached. And as much as you can, send compassion in their direction. Then I wait. So in just a few moments, you're going to go back down the mountain to collect your parts, even if there's a part of you that doesn't want to, because you're going to realize that once you give your own parts the attention they need to unburden the pain from the past, they carry their own wisdom and light. So taking back your parts ever so gently, come back down the mountain, back down the path, back through the doorway, and back to your room. I did that fast with you. I do it in 45 minutes with an individual or couple. And just giving them this experience gives them a sense of hope. Hope that you can help them. Hope that there's going to be a different way to create a new relationship. And I tell them, Even people that are coming from marriage counseling, I tell them your first marriage is over. It's not about putting a Band-Aid on it. It's about creating something new based on who you both are now and what you want and need and what you're willing to do and give each other. And that's how we begin the sessions. And I tell them, and every session is going to feel the same way. We're going to have a self-led conversation. And if your parts get triggered, I'm going to help you learn how to speak for them instead of from them. And that's basically my first session. And all of that is what I'm going to be doing on Tuesday, but I'm going to be using people in the group who can bring their client stories, their own issues, and begin to heal based on what I'm offering. And then have all of this, it's all on the Compassionate Communication Academy. I have all the videos, the handouts, the scripts, the templates, the meditations. I have a whole training manual because my program is certified by the National Board of Certified Counselors and the International Coach Federation to give 16 CEUs to therapists and coaches. It's also for mediators, attorneys, counselors, clergy, anyone that is working with an individual or couple in conflict. These tools will help because I mentor you by first finding out where you are. In other words, what are you doing? What do you hope you could do in the future? What's in the way of that? What's your dream for your future? And then I give you the tools and the techniques, but each week, because it is a very small, intimate group, I am focused on adding what I do to what you'd like to do, including marketing and networking and mindset and meditation. It really is me taking you by the hand and you having your own therapist, mediator, attorney, spiritual coach in your back pocket. You're going to feel that you can turn to me and to the group for whatever is evolving inside of you. Because if you're listening to this at all, if you've leaned into the possibility at all, please talk to me for 15 minutes at lindakroll.com. There are no accidents. You're here, you're listening, you're leaning in because there's a part of you that knows that, as I have many, many times, that I reach a certain plateau where having an expert near me, with me, offering what they can, catapults where I am until my next level of incarnation. And that's what I want to offer you, because in my last cohort, and if you go to lindakroll.com certify, you'll hear from a few people in the last cohort. A couple of them got together to form their own membership site on the self-love revolution. What I give you, whether it's exercises, scripts, the manual, you can use to integrate now and create your own groups or workshops, or help me train other therapists and mediators and coaches, or help me coach the compassionate mediation program that I'll be offering soon to individuals and couples. So the mentorship alone is worth it, but more importantly is you get a fabulous group, because in all the cohorts that I've done, I am very selective in who I invite into the group. In other words, it's not a one size fits all. And I'm very interested in how much you are doing right now in your life, what your goals are in the future, how open you are to learning new skills, how much you'd like to share your expertise with others. And I'm looking for heart-centered, spiritually aware healers, guides, leaders who know they want to be of bigger service and don't exactly know how. If any of that resonates at all, please go to lindakroll.com/certify and let's find time for a chat. Again, we're starting Tuesday. I know it feels last minute, and this may be the last time I offer it live for a while, or maybe ever, because it may just go to Evergreen Online. My direction is going to be changing in a little bit. This will be part of what I do, but not with the same focus. So if you've ever wanted to work with me at all, this is the time. I invite you to join me, and we're going to have fun. So I'm going to just share quickly a couple of the pictures that I wanted to share, because it just gives you a feeling of, here we go. This one I wanted to share. Convention of Children and Functional Families. I love that cartoon because I tell everybody they've done the best they know how to do, but now they can do better. So let me help them do better and not let their family of origin bring it up. I want to remind you that you can be fulfilled and show up and be present with me, and then we will have fun, because fun is part of it. I like to say that Albert Einstein says that men marry women hoping they'll never change, women marry men hoping to change them, and inevitably they're both disappointed. So there's a lot of wisdom in what others have said that I will be passing along, but we're going to be adding a lot of this kind of energy, both into your life, into your practice, and I'd love for you to be a part. Our parents and caregivers did the best they knew how to do. We can help our clients show up with more self-energy. We can change the face of divorce one heart at a time. That is, says my screen sharing is paused. So if it's paused, I'm sorry. I'd love to answer your questions. Go to lindakroll.com/certify. If you can't find a time that is interesting to you or fits your schedule, contact me directly and we will find time this weekend. Okay, so thank you so much again. I hope you got a little information on how some IFS-based techniques can make you an expert in conflict resolution, how my mentorship, giving you the benefit of my 35 years of experience and all the templates and scripts and everything else, will take you from where you are to wherever you want to go, and how this community will make you feel like you found a new home, a new family, a safe harbor for your own personal growth. I'd love to have you be part of it. So please join me, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.